Welcome to ReadIT. Please like and subscribe for more Reddit posts. We post videos of different subreddits daily. Today we have r/AskReddit. And the user Mohammed James Swans 1 is asking you're teleported back in time to year 1821, in the same exact place as you're now, or ground level, not falling to death. What's going on around you? What would you do? Great, I turn up in a field, next to a mental asylum, in strange clothes and not sounding correct to the local time period. I don't think I'm getting much a choice unless I'm not seen. I'm glad it's 1821. Where I live was a cavalry unit garrison and exercise grounds back then, only a few years before, it would have been wartime. I'd probably have been executed as a spy. I'd be in a swamp. My life would be ogre. That's what I envy about Europeans. Some go, my house was built in 1821, meanwhile in 1821 my city was literally just 2 farms bought by some dude, who the city is named, after the War of 1812. And when it expanded it was built with all the same late 1800s/early 1900s style brick homes to house factory and mill workers, followed by boring block towers and then mansions with the city designed only to be used by cars. The oldest building is a church from like 1840. Well, I'm in a college dorm at a school that's been around since the 1700s, so, nothing's changed except probably a little less electricity. Unless you are a woman. Or a minority. Probably everyone around me would be a farmer or a coal miner, and I would be freezing my ass off in a field. So I guess my first move is to find a house with some people who can hopefully give me some appropriate clothes. Same here. It would be my landlord's ancestors though, maybe, so that could be interesting if I ever get back to my time. Well, I'm in Sweden and it's full of forests and I can't speak much Swedish. I'd probably be fudged lol. You would be surprised how quick you can learn a language when it's a matter of life or death. It's one thing to watch boring videos in the comfort of your home with a full belly and you have like 9 other things you would rather do. It's another when your very survival depends on learning it. Alright. So here I am magically appearing in one of the servants' quarters of an early Victorian-era magnate/nobleman's townhouse. Either that or I'm in the storage. Either way I have materialist in the top floor of a fairly rich guy's house and in a place that will be very inconvenient to simply slip right out of. However, this actually works to my advantage. The servants, or perhaps even a man of the house, sees me materialist out of thin air, which brings about some natural sense of wonder as to my appearance. There's no immediate judgment of me being a thief or danger to be thrown out. In the sudden mess I request a short audience with the owner or incumbent overseer of the house. I quickly tell them that I have been transposed here from some foreign place through means that I cannot explain but do not know how to get back to my place of origin. Here I'm relying on a lot of luck as to who saw my materialization as to consider the veracity of this claim, but that I am a strong, relatively tall young man who's not only literate but capable in mathematics and other learned skills, as I held a position of an esteemed adherence to an extremely significant office of my location. Not really, but a better backstory to explain my skills. Easier to go with the stance that I'm a real person of the period arrived by some small miracle rather than from almost an altogether different reality, and would be willing to offer my services for no more than a regular assistant's wages. Over time I slowly offer him tidbits of scientifically understandings that my mysterious origin allows me, gaining his esteem and elevating me to the position of his right-hand man. I will then secure my position and aid him into some decent financial ventures that I know will be useful, and use these competencies as leverage for them to help me craft my own place in high society. Once I have succeeded a degree of capital and a suitable housing, I embark on my quest as a serial investor, investing in all the most important technological developments of the 19th century. I'm in dairy farmland. This area has been inhabited since Neolithic times and was a source of flint and chalk. In 1821 there are some large country estate houses, a church from 1086, which is still here now, and another from the Middle Ages. There are approximately 197 people living here. What would I do? Probably walk to TE Centre of London and have a tot of gin, maybe see a show and just generally wander about. I'd be in a temperate rainforest. 1821 would be the first time the locals have seen a white person in a while, and would either kill me when they saw me or treat me very well. I don't know much of the language, but probably enough to get by. I'd head east, which is handy as it's the way I'm facing anyway. Head to the water, and find a village. I know enough about the customs to avoid offense hopefully. I then assimilate into the tribe and surprise Captain Cook by being white. Nothing would be near me at all. The town wasn't a town until 1859, and I think it was just a pub and a post office when it began. The Boonwurrung people owned this land during that time, so hopefully they'd take pity on the weird-looking white lady and look after her. Knowing my luck, though, I'd get killed by a kangaroo or snake. Probably isolate for 2 weeks. Giving everyone COVID in 1821 would probably cause 30% of humanity to die. That would be a hell of a butterfly effect. And probably lead to a grandfather paradox. My very small hillside house would be about 50 years old at that point, so a strangely dressed man appearing would probably scare the owner shitless. The owner, would be working-class individuals almost certainly making a living through textiles, perhaps in a nearby mill at that time, although perhaps still from home as part of a cottage industry. The ground-level floor of the house would be earth, and a small amount of livestock would be living down here. There is an open coal fire now, and there still would have been back then. There are and would have been a few other small houses next to mine. Beyond that there will have been a few farms peppering the hillside. There also would have been a number of small, strange quirky chapels for the strange quirky hill folk. I live in the countryside and can't see too many man-made objects, but the view may have had more trees as opposed to fields. There would be a few pubs/inns within a half an hour walk down towards the village, which I think I'd need to visit after traveling back in time 200 years. To be honest, a lot of things would be pretty similar. I'm at the heart of the British Empire's trade, the bedrock of her economy, just reaching the peak of her power, fresh from the Napoleonic Wars. The shoreline is a forest of masts, mostly of ships bound for New York, Dublin, and Savannah, and also farther afield, to far-off ports in India, China, and the Caribbean. The skyline is dominated by dockyards and great red, brick-built warehouses, stuffed to the gunwales with tea, tobacco, sugar, and most of all, cotton. It brings the new merchant class great wealth, with which they build for themselves the townhouses of Prince's Avenue, Faulkner Street, and Canning Place, the new town hall and other civic edifices, and in a few years, the world's first railways, which will bring them even greater wealth. Lingering amongst the new, though, is the old, the distinctive windmill on Bidston Hill across the water, and the remnants of the bedrock of the city's wealth, slavery. The slave gate still stands before the old dock, and though human chattel are no longer seen to be counted underneath it, the city's grandees will still profit from the backs of enslaved people for generations yet. Bale after bale arrives from Mississippi, Alabama, and Louisiana, to be shipped up the canal to the mills that clothe most of the world. 1821 means I'm in Britain, wishing I had prep time so I could have brought forward some instruction guides on some inventions. But how do we make these aeroplanes? I don't know. I suppose I could at least describe things to people far more intelligent and watch them have a crack at it. I don't know, but probably kill Micah Bell's ancestors. I am an Asian male, living in Virginia, on the outskirts of Richmond. So I'll probably be running north. Like very north. I also am going to totally try to die during Harper's Ferry helping old John Brown. Fun fact, John Brown was not only an abolitionist, he was also not racist. John Brown had great intentions, but the odds of the Harper's Ferry raid succeeding were approximately 0%. But you could always make plans to return to Richmond and become part of Elizabeth Van Loo's spy network. It's 1821. I'm in Santiago, Chile. The country has been independent effectively for a bit over 2 years, after a bloody war. Actually, war is still going on in the far south. After the teleportation shock, I find myself in what appears to be a gigantic park. It's actually just one property, so I have to get out. I didn't have shoes on in the moment of the teleportation, and it's very cold and dark. There is no electric light, not even proper gas light. The city actually starts about 100 meters to the north of me. There is still a few people around. I grab a homeless kid and ask him what year is it. 1821 of the Lord, he replies, confused. God fucking damn it, the Reddit post. I don't care if I look weird. I have no contacts or refuge for the night, but at least I'm in a somewhat civilized place. I'm 20, and I've been safely sheltered my entire life. I probably look like a beggar, with shorts, and a plain shirt. For now, my main concern is survival. There's no police, just a military rule. I'd probably seek shelter in one of the many churches of this small city. I'm not Catholic, but maybe if I try hard enough I can remember 1 or 2 prayers, probably. Since I'm too old to be a proper orphan, I would have to gain my right to food working my ass off. From there on, my concern should be living a quiet life, to not change history and fuck everyone else in the future. Geez, the stress. I like history, so I know for a fact that lots of turmoil and hard times are ahead, but maybe if I'm lucky I won't be forcefully drafted. After all, I can read and write, that puts me in a 10% of the population or so. Damn you, now I want to write a book.